Bradley Beal and Denny injury updates next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So, what's up, everybody? Tonight, we are going to talk about Bradley Beal and Denny's injury updates. So, Bradley Beal is in safety protocols. Are you concerned, Ed?
I'm not too concerned because he has some time before the first game of the year, October 19th. We're recording this on October 9th, so he has about 10 days. The report was, I know Chase Hughes tweeted about it. A couple Washington Wizards beat reporters tweeted about it as well. They said that he had one positive test and then one negative test. Looking it up right now, this was per Wes Unseld Jr. But the thing is, Brad has been through this before many times, even with the USA team. This from Chase Hughes, he tweeted, Bradley Beal tested positive and has minor symptoms per Wes Unseld Jr. So he was in health and safety protocols where he didn't, he wasn't able to compete in the Olympics. So he missed out on that. He was in health and safety protocols in January. So he's been in and out of health and safety protocols multiple times over the last season. So December, he was in health and safety protocols. He missed the game against the Knicks on December 23rd. He missed the game against the Thunder on January 11th. So he's been in and out of health and safety protocols. So this is something that's happened. He missed the Miami game due to health and safety protocols as well, due to contract tracing exposure to Jason Tatum. They're best buddies. So that happened January 9th. So he's missed time for this, and this is something that could, pop up again during the season. I don't know how it's going on, and I don't know if the NFL. I don't even think the NFL is testing for it anymore, to be honest with you, because I haven't heard any people be out. And the NFL, there's 53 guys on the roster. You got equipment managers, coaches, coaching staff. So you can just imagine that if they did tracing to an extent, that somebody's gonna test positive or be out. Nobody's been out due to health and safety protocols, from what I heard in the NFL. So I know the rules are different. I don't even think they're doing it anymore. So if they're still doing it, man, this could be a concern. And Brad, we know his stance on the vaccination. Not going to get too much into that, but this is something that could pop up during the regular season. I do think he's going to be back. The thing is, of course, your stamina, your health, your breathing, it can affect your breathing depending on how bad it's affecting him or how much it's affected him. So I'm not too concerned, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure, man, because we saw this happen last year. So something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not concerned, but how do I say this? There's two perspectives I want to bring up here. One, with the COVID situation, I do want to see a little cooperation between the leagues. Like you brought up, the NFL, the NBA. I think the leagues need to talk to each other. But two, I'm going to put on Brad a little bit. If you know that these are tests that you're going to have to take, you have to be smarter. We know the world we live in now. COVID is something that we lived through for, it's going on 3 years. So, this is not new. So, I think he needs to take a little responsibility, and that's just my opinion. The fact that, like you said, this is not the first time. And like I said, I'm not going to get into the whole vaccine thing, pro con, I'm not going to get into that. But I feel like, you being a leader, you being a max player, you being a franchise player, I think you need to be a little more responsible, because, just like I said, this is not something new for us. So, like I said, I'm not concerned, but I think that, the season's coming up. I think there needs to be a little more tact when it comes to what you're doing. You're getting ready for the season. So, it's really shaky subject for me because, it's just something that we're not used to. This pandemic is new for all of us. It's new for the league. So, and obviously it's a little different now. I think it's 5 days quarantine for most people. So it's not as serious as it was, but look, this is professional basketball. They get paid to do this, and I feel like they need to be a little more responsible for like you said, who you're around and stuff like that. They're a little too free with it. So that's my opinion. But as far as being concerned, no, I'm not too concerned. I think he'll be ready for the season. I'm a little more concerned about Denny than I am about Brad. So.
Yeah, Denny, he was practicing. He didn't practice. He was limited in practice. This is per Western Jr. as well. He played 3-on-3 after Friday's practice against coaches. The hope is to get him more live minutes after shoot around tomorrow against players. So we'll see. He's not going to be playing tomorrow. They already announced that he's not going to be playing against the Hornets. But yeah, about Brad, you just never know. You could be in the wrong place. You could be going to the grocery store. You could contract it. So it's just something that's never going to go away. It's a sticky situation. It really is. It's sticky. So other guys just got to step up. I think hopefully he can be back by October 19th for the first game. I think he will be. Other guys got to step up, like Johnny Kispert being out 4 to 6 weeks. So it's where our depth is going to be tested. And before the season started, we were so very optimistic because guys are healthy. But we do see some bumps on the road here now. So, with Denny being out tomorrow night, Johnny's probably going to get more minutes than what he got. Will Barton will probably have to start as well. So other guys are going to have to come in. DeLon Wright will probably get more minutes as well. So other guys got to step up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, let me start by saying that, obviously my first concern is his health, and especially the health of his loved ones.
Oh, definitely,
but, yeah. That's my first concern for, his family, especially his children. But, like you said, it's next man up. I'm looking for, Kuz to step up, KP to step up, because this is a scenario that is not unreal. This could happen. Injuries happen. What I'm looking for in this next game is these leaders stepping up and taking charge, which is what we saw last season. So that's exactly what I want to see in this next game. But, yeah, I'm not too concerned about Brad. I think he's going to be just fine for the regular season. Like you said, Denny is kind of a concern. His injury is shaky. We talked about it before. We've seen his injury in other sports. For example, Curtis Samuel with the Washington Commanders. They ended up being a long-term injury. So you just never know. But like they said, he's starting to do 3-on-3. He's ramping up. So I'm enthusiastic that even if he does miss regular season time, it's not going to be extensive. So, yeah, I'm not overly concerned. But, we talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about this about Denny. I think they need to revisit, how much length they're going to give these players as far as playing overseas and a lot of, FIBA, because you got to really look at that, because you're looking at a guy who is a key piece to the scene. And now he's injured. So I really think that the NBA has to take a second look at, their investments. These players are investments, and letting these guys play overseas. I get it. You want to represent your country. I get that. But, this is a business. And, look, he's a key piece of this business. So I think they need to look at it again. But before we move on, tonight's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's lockedon.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So now that we know that Brad's not playing and Denny's out, what's your rotation for tomorrow night?
I'll go. And then last thing about the guys playing overseas. Yeah, I mean, Danilo Gallinari, he tore his ACL, so he's missing time. So it's tough, but we know players want to play and represent their country. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I thought Denny did a good job over there. And you can get hurt doing anything. You can get hurt playing in pickup games. You can get hurt playing in the summer league, too, because if he would have played in the summer league, who knows if he would have got hurt or not. So, but, yeah, it's just a decision the players have to make. And but it depends on organizations, too. Like, if it was Derrick Rose with the Bulls and all the injuries he had, then, of course, I'm going to say, yeah, Derrick Rose. you're not playing for the USA team. So it just depends on the situation and the player. So it is an intriguing topic for sure. But as far as the rotation, of course, you want to see everybody play now. And then the guys that were like the guys who are fighting for like two-way deals and might be on the G League and whatnot. Jaime Chinique, who played in the Summer League, he didn't play in Japan. Jordan Goodwin, Quentin Jackson from Texas A&M, Davion Mintz from Kentucky. Some of those other guys who are fighting for training camp spots and getting the last spot on the roster. Jordan Shackle did travel, but some of the other guys I do want to see. Quentin Jackson, I want to see him play. I'm intrigued to see Quentin Jackson from Texas A&M play. But the rotation, I could see Monte and DeLon, of course. At the shooting guard, I think Will Barton's going to start at the shooting guard position, and then taking the spot for of Bradley Beal. Then Rui at the 3 again. Kuz at the 4, Porzingis at the 5, Gaff at the 5 off the bench. Anthony Gill is going to have to be the backup 4. And then at 3, you just don't have a lot of bodies, so somebody else that typically doesn't play, maybe Jordan Shackle might have to get some more minutes. DeLon Wright, of course, Johnny Davis is going to be our backup too. But yeah, there's just some guys that are missing. Gibson, of course, is going to play. And I think some of the younger guys are going to play. But yeah, it's going to be a wonky, different kind of rotation. Now, if it was the regular season, then maybe I think Davis would play too. But yeah, I mean, you have Monte Morris, DeLon Wright as your backup, and then Barton at the 2, Rui at the 3, Kuz at the 4, and then KP at the 5. Like I said, Gaff off the bench, and then Gill's your backup 4 behind Kuz. And then you really don't have a backup 3 right now. To be honest, Gill could interchange and be your backup 3 or backup 4. DeLon Wright would be your backup 1, and then Johnny Davis is your backup 2. So probably a 10-man rotation. But they should let some of the young guys play and get some burn tomorrow night.
Totally agree. That would be my lineup. I'm intrigued to see Jordan Shackle. I like what I saw from him last season. Same with Quentin Jackson. I do want to see him play. So, like you said, that second unit, I think that I would like to see Jordan Shackle at the 3 because he's a shooter. I like his game. So, and like you said, I'm a big fan of Quentin Jackson. So, yeah. I mean, Will Barton's probably going to start at the 2. So, I mean, like we always preach it. Next man up. It's time for next man up. And, yeah, a lot of injuries in us quick. So it's, we're doing a lot of these revisiting the rotation because, I mean, in the short part of time, this team's taking a hit. So, like I said, the biggest key to everything going forward this season, because, injuries going to happen, things going to happen is next man up. That's the biggest thing I'm going to see for this team. And that's something I saw last season, later in the season with Kuz and KP. You saw them taking a central role in leadership, stepping the game up, the scoring they picked up. So, like I said, I'm not too concerned because I think that a lot of these injuries, I mean, obviously Kispert, he's out for 4 to 6. But, other than him, there's not a lot of significant injuries here. Denny, he's working his way back up, so I don't see him being out too long. And obviously, Brad, his safety protocols and, the way they're dealing with COVID-19 right now is just, it's not like it was in the beginning where, it's this long period that you're going to be out. Most of the time, 5 days. So I could see him being back, a lot sooner than later. So I'm not overly concerned. But, hey, I hate to take the easy way out, but that would be my rotation. So,
Yeah, and then another thing with Brad, he struggled last year, and some of that was due to him being out, him missing time and missing games. He had a family member that passed away. So he did miss some games here and there. So he didn't really get in the rhythm. Now, it's no excuse, for him missing those games for him to, shoot as poorly as he did. But we just don't want that to happen again, him being in and out of the lineup, missing games. So, hopefully there's something that just doesn't pop up again, him missing games due to health and safety protocols.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's weird times because, like I said, this is new to everybody. Dealing with COVID-19 is just, you're not used to people being out, being sick. You know what I mean? Not on this scale. So it's a tricky situation. But I think, like I said, overall, I think we'll be okay. Brad's going to be back. Denny's working his way back up. I think the only injury I have any concern about, and it's not a major concern, but Corey Kispert being out. This time is now for Johnny Davis to earn that money. He's got it. This is his time. We were talking, before about how we preferred him to be, to start out in the G League. But now it's his time. He's got to step in. And so I think that I'm actually optimistic. Yeah, I'm optimistic, especially today. It's hard to be optimistic today. But I'm optimistic. I think that he's going to play a lot better because I see the intangibles with Johnny Davis. The high motor, most people might not think that that's important, but the high motor is important. Effort. I think he's going to be okay. So I'm not overly concerned with this team, but go ahead and move on. Will Barton today made some comments concerning him and his desire to start. What do you think about those comments today?
Definitely, they were interesting comments. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. Fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to BetOnline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline where the game starts. So, yeah, BetOnline. I didn't bet on the Commanders game today, but, it was unfortunate the way things went out today. Unfortunate. So I'm not going to talk about that too much. But, yeah, I'm going to read the quote word for word. This was put out by Hoop District. And then Johnny Davis, he had knee tendonitis the past two practices, but he was a full participant. And he may be able to play Monday in Charlotte. So that was the report on Johnny. But Will Barton. So Will Barton, he said, quote, "I'm a guy that always expects to start. That's just who I am. It's not going to change my mindset if I'm not starting. I ain't going to play hard." I think they kind of butchered the quote, but I'm going to play hard or try to make an impact. Obviously, I want to start. Who wouldn't? End quote. But my thoughts on that is, he's a guy he started for playoff teams. He started for the Nuggets for years. He's a guy that holds the three-pointers made record for the Nuggets. He's played with Nikola Jokic. He's been in many playoff games, many playoff battles. He's an established veteran. He's been in the league for many, many years. So I get he has pride and a lot of confidence. So I get that. Of course, I think a lot of people would just want to hear him say, "Oh, I don't care if I start or not. I'd be willing to come off the bench if they asked me to." But he's a guy that's played with Wes. He's a veteran. He expects to start. And there's a lot of guys that think that way. Some guys where, maybe they would be better coming off the bench, but they're in the mindset that they want to start, and they think, it may be a little of a knock to them or kind of, a little bit of disrespect to them if they are coming off the bench. But I think Will is what he's saying too. He's not going to change his mindset if he's not starting. He's going to come in and play the same way. He's going to come in and play hard. He's still going to be a microwave scorer, whether he comes off the bench or not. He's still going to be a great isolation scorer. I do think he's in the running to start because we know Wes coached him in Denver. He started in Denver with Wes as well. So I could definitely see him starting, kind of similar to the KCP situation last year. I know he's not a natural three. He's a 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard. That's where he's best suited. But if we're looking through Wes's mind and through his lens, of course, Monte Morris and Will Barton are going to start day one. Now, Rui could change that. Denny could possibly change, but Denny's just been out. That's the thing with Denny being out, missing these games. He just hasn't been able to showcase what he's worked on this summer. He hasn't been able to showcase what he worked on with Drew Hanlon, what he worked on in FIBA. So it is a setback with Denny. It just is. These injuries and guys being out, they are setbacks, to be honest. They are. But, yeah, I have no problem with what Will said. He's a prideful guy. He wants to come in and start. He wants to contribute in any way that he can. I do feel like he can be similar to kind of what Trez was last year, just a guy coming off the bench and just was a fire plug and a spark and just had that junkyard dog mentality, just the chip kind of street ball playground type of ball mentality. And that's what the Wizards need. They need some more mean guys and guys that have chips on their shoulders for sure. And I think Will can bring that to the team. So I don't think it's going to turn into a toxic situation, kind of how it went with Montrez last year, him fighting KCP and, guys fighting for minutes and whatnot and fighting for touches and being vocal about it in press conferences. But Will is a guy who will keep it Will the Thrill will keep it real in press conference. I've heard some of his press conferences in Denver. He will be honest and very candid after press conference. He will give very straightforward answers. So, but it's something we can definitely visit during the middle of the season if it does come up as a conflict during the season.
Hey, like you said, look, Will from B-more, man. So he's gonna keep it 100.
Right.
So he's gonna take it. He's gonna tell it like it is, man. And this is what you want to hear, man. He's got that fire in him. I like what I hear from him. I'm starting to become a really big fan of Will Barton. I've always been a big fan of his game, but he's saying the right things. But what you said about Rui going forward, I totally agree. I think that now, going forward, and obviously, through Wes's eyes, Barton's going to start at the 3 starting the season. But I think eventually he's going to move into the 6-man role. I think Rui he's leapfrogged past Denny for that 3 spot. I'm very intrigued at seeing Rui in the 3 spot because, like I said, he's already a 3-level scorer. But I mean, shoot, if he can get that defense on point, I mean, Rui just impressed me this preseason. So tomorrow night when I'm looking at him too. I want to see what he does tomorrow night because I think that if he's very successful this preseason, who knows? I mean, you just never know. I mean, if he shows out this preseason, he could go in the season the starting wing. You just never know. And it's unfortunate for Denny. So like I said, this is not the first injury. Working out with Drew Hanlon, showing out FIBA. I think a lot of people were, waiting to see how far of a leap he was going to take this season. So it's very unfortunate because I think he's a great talent. I think Rui and Denny are 2 great talents. And that's a good luxury to have good young talent, especially on this team. So, it's just so many options in this team. That's what I like. And, obviously we took a hit with the injuries, but there's just so much depth. So, like I said, I'm not too concerned with the injuries. And going back to Will Barton in his comments, love it because you want your guys to say that. You want your guys to have that fire in them. So I'm a big fan of what I heard from him.
Yeah, it's competition. Guys want to compete for that starting spot. They want to get in where they can fit in, but Will wants to start, and I bet Rui wants to start. He wants to get the most minutes he can get. Same thing with Denny. So it's an open competition. Wes said it's wide open, whether I believe him or not. Maybe, and Wes also said in the press conference that, he's kind of had his mind made up for who he thinks is going to start day one. But yeah, I mean, hopefully Rui can step up and take the bull by the horns. It looks like that's what he did in the first 2 preseason games. So we'll see if he can continue that. And we'll see how I thought Will did a good job too in the second game against the Warriors. But yeah, Johnny Davis is expected to play per Chase Hughes, and then per Josh Robbins, Denny is not going to play tomorrow night against the Hornets. So, but those are the quotes. And Kristaps had a quote today too. He said, "quote Rui has been taking his game to a new level. He has also opened up. He's got his swagger going now. He's feeling good. He's really finding who he is on the court." End quote. So, hearing nothing but good things about Rui, man. That's why this is leading us into what we're looking forward to tomorrow night against the Hornets. Of course, they got LaMelo Ball. Unfortunately, they lost. Miles Bridges is not going to be there this year for the Hornets. I don't know if Miles Bridges. I'm not going to say too much about the situation, but the Hornets. They're a team that we're going to be competing with for one of the few play-in spots or playoff spots. We'll see if we're going to depending on how it goes. But the Hornets are going to be a team that we're competing with, that we are similar to in a sense. I would say talent-wise, they got PJ Washington, Mason Plumlee, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre. They had our number last year too. They were a team that went zone, and we struggled to shoot threes against them, and they found ways to beat us. They had our number last year. Gordon Hayward, he's always in and out of the lineup. What's your keys to victory, or what things are you looking for the Wizards to do or work on tomorrow night against the Hornets?
I'm going to say 2 things. One, communication. With Brad being out, guys going to have to step up. Communication is going to have to be key. Leadership is going to have to step up. KP is going to have to step up with leadership. Kuz, the guys from Denver, Will Barton and Monte, they're familiar with Wes's system. So I really want to see leadership from them because they're very familiar with Wes. So, they know what to expect as far as playing for Wes. So, communication, especially on the defensive end, communication. They've stepped forward. They took a leap forward defensively. So communication is key. That's the one thing that, was lacking last season was communication. Too many people were lost on their assignments. So communication. And then, like I said before, people stepping up. This is, like I said, the injuries are going to happen. I want to see these guys step up. And I think it's going to happen. Like I said, I'm more optimistic and more intrigued about this team than I have been about past teams, as much as I hate to say that. But because there's something the depth shows, and even the young guys, there's experience there. Other than Johnny Davis, Corey Kisper's got experience. Obviously, he's not playing, but, just going forward, Rui, man, I'm excited to see Rui this season. I really am. I think Rui's going to earn that extension. I think he's really going to take a step forward. All the news I hear about him taking his role serious, him working on his defense, it's just, this is what I want to see from Rui. This is the final piece that I want to see from Rui because I love his talent. So, yeah, communication on the defensive end obviously is important both ends, but defensively, I want to see communication. And then I want to see the guy, the secondary, I guess, stars step up, KP and Kuz. I want to see the guys step up.
Definitely, yeah. Defense is huge. I mean, that's going to be their Achilles heel. That's going to be something that they really need to improve on. 25th in defensive efficiency last year was very underwhelming, very lackluster for the team, especially knowing that West, was a defensive-minded head coach or defensive-minded coach coming in. He was the defensive coordinator for the Nuggets, so that was disappointing last year. I want to see DeLon Wright, man. I want to see him be that defensive pest that he was in the first two games. I do want to see Johnny Davis, of course, all eyes on him. He had knee tendonitis, so I don't know how much that's affecting him. But we want to see him put the ball in the basket, man. He hasn't put the ball in the basket yet. He's hit some free throws, but we want to see him get his first one, man. I might have to pop open some champagne when he hits his first shot. I wanted to see the Brad Porzingis duo, but we won't be able to see that tomorrow night. And just once again, like I said, Rui, can he keep it up? Can he be aggressive again? Can he get some and ones, some tough and ones? We know offensively it's not really a question for him, but defensively, can he bring that tenacity and that intensity? Kuzma struggled shooting the ball for the most part in the first two games. I want to see him shoot the ball better as well, and then Porzingis too. And then, like I said earlier, I want to see some of these young guys. Now, bringing up some numbers from last year, the Hornets, they like to push the pace and they like to run the ball. They like to run up and down the floor. They were number 2 in NBA team fast break points per game with 16.2. Memphis was number 1, obviously, because of Ja Morant. I mean, you look at a guy who has the ball most of the time is Ja Morant. So, of course, you're going to have to – if you're playing with Memphis, you're going to have to run. And then the Wizards were 28th in fast break points last year with 9.8. So, like we always brought up, we were just a slow, methodical team. But the Hornets, it's going to be an up and down game. They like to get up and down. They like to run. LaMelo Ball, he likes to run. He likes to push. Same thing with Terry Rozier. He likes to run. He likes to push. They're a young team. They're athletic. They got some guys that we want to run and gun. And they put up a lot of threes. Last year, they made 13.9 three-pointers per game, which was 4th in the NBA. And the Wizards were 29th in the NBA, three-pointers made per game with 10.5. So they're basically the exact opposite of what we did last year. In a sense, is running and hitting threes. So they want to run and gun. So it's going to be an up and down game tomorrow night.
Yeah, they're going to need a run and gun because I'm telling you right now, we're going to take that dub. I'm telling you right now because I don't think Plumlee can mess with KP. I think KP is going to eat him up long. He's going to eat him up. And Kuz, I'm telling you, yeah, they're going to need that. But, I'm intrigued to see how we defend against a fast team. Because, I often say that, West is a defensive-minded coach, but his offensive flow is too slow. So what I want to see from West is a faster tempo and yet be a defensive-minded team. And I know that's weird because if you look at past teams, and I always use the Phoenix Suns, when they had Steve Nash under Mike D'Antoni, it was a fast team, but they, defense was non-existent. I want to see a new type of system under West. I want to see him, keeping that defensive focus, but pushing the pace. Because I'm telling you, if they push the pace, this team is going to score. The last year was just so dead slow. Spencer did what he just, he took the ball up and then he's trying to set the offense. And then before you know it, it's 20 seconds off the clock. And then, he's trying to do hot potato. I ain't trying to see all that. I want to see them pushing the ball. So like I said, the Hornets, they're going to need to push that because I see us winning that. Charlotte didn't do too much in the offseason to really wow me. You know what I mean? Like I said, Gordon Hayward, he's made out of paper. So, it's just a matter of time with him. LaMelo, I love his game, but, he could be streaky. He's toned down on the, the low IQ crazy shots. He's becoming more of a basketball IQ guy, and I like that from LaMelo. But Miles Plumlee, he's a traditional big, and PJ's a guy that intrigues me as far as defending him, because he's a four who he's an above average defender. He can shoot from three, and he's a good rebounder. So I'm interested to see how they match up against PJ. But like I said, I see this as a dub. I think they were a better team than Charlotte. So, and I look forward to KP just eating down low. And because, like I said, he wants to play with his back to the basket. So I think that's one thing that I'm gonna add that I want to see tomorrow night is see him in the paint a lot more. So I'm very intrigued and I'm optimistic. So
yeah, I know. Already with preseason, I feel I'm excited for these games too. So any win, I'll take it in preseason, regular season. I don't care. I love seeing the Wizards win games. Rozier is a baller. Kelly Oubre, former Wizard too. So it's gonna be a good preseason test. Mark Williams, the big man out of Duke. James Bouknight, who was drafted last year, who went 0 for 8, who's kind of struggling like Johnny Davis is. And they got Bryce McGowan's a young shooting guard from Nebraska. I like him a lot too. And they got LiAngelo Ball, the younger Ball brother. Dennis Smith Jr. is on that roster too. So they got some interesting guys with some interesting stories on that roster. But we want to thank you guys for listening, making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022, a 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and the NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey all combining into one ultimate NBA preview. Search for Ultimate Pro NBA Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you guys for listening, making Locked On Wizards once again your first listen every day. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, leave a 5-star review if you can. Hail to the Wizards. Peace.